Good morning, my friends, and happy Woden's Day to you. Today we celebrate Woden. Of course, Woden being the early Germanic understanding of the great supreme god, Odin. Now, what we celebrate today is wisdom, and we embrace this idea of where does wisdom come from? Wisdom, of course, comes from our previous experiences. As we gain these experiences and as we experience different parts of life, of our physical existence, one of the things that we're going to collect is this memories of emotions, of feeling certain ways for certain things and certain events, maybe certain influences that we experience are all going to bring a certain level of energy. And those pieces of energy, of course, are translated by the human mind into what we call emotion. Now, the jury is really still out as far as biologically what comes first, the energy or the chemistry. I believe, and what my ancestors have told me, is that as we receive this energy into our body, our brain receives the energy and it kind of does an interpretation, translation, if you will, based on what's in the relational matrix. And we've talked about that. That's essentially a matrix that's created as we gain experiences. So we begin to relate different things together to kind of all connect everything up in our minds, is to kind of frame, if you will, this idea of a physical reality. So, as we're gaining these experiences, one of the things that happens is we have a physical sensory input, whether it be sight, hearing, taste, smell, maybe even the sensory of touch. That physical sensory input comes into our brain in the same exact way that our self absorbs energy from the universe. So our ancestors are sending us energy, the universe is sending us energy, Mother Yord is sending us energy. All of these things come into our brain, and our brain then has to translate it. So it has to have something to compare itself against. So it takes this energy and it compares the signature of this energy to what's in our relational matrix, or our history, our past, our memories, and then it decides what it's going to do about it. Now, in many cases, what's going to happen is the brain says, "Oh, I know what to do with this. I'm going to send a notification, an email down to the heart, and the heart is going to release hormones into my system. It's going to flood all around the blood, and then essentially the chemistry will wind up back in my brain where I can register that now as an emotion, as a feeling, as how do I feel, right? So all this sensory input. Now, what happens with this, once the brain releases the hormones and the hormones go racing around the system, wind up back in the brain then does a couple of things with that. It registers it, it logs it in this relational matrix, or our memories, that we can reflect back on. But B, it then also sets our emotional filters. Now, our emotional filters are simply that. They're just filters that sit behind, or between, I should say, our physical sensory input and our brain. And they alter the way we interpret that data. So, in other words, if we're sad, as an example, we're depressed, we're feeling very low, that feeling alters the way we see, or our brain interprets what we see, by our physical sensory input. When that happens, we see things differently than we would have seen it had, instead of being sad, we were happy, or we were mad, or we were something else. Okay? We're going to see our reality differently. based on how we feel. Now, seeing that reality differently then alters the way that event, that experience, is stored in our memory. So, our it's kind of this vicious circle. As we feel, we change, we see things differently, we store that differently, we then recall it differently, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So, your journey, your spiritual journey, which we know spiritual journeys are based around how we feel, it's an emotional journey. Our spiritual path is purely done with this. But this now alters what this understands, right? So we know that we feel our way through life, through this physical experience, gaining those experiences that our spiritual center takes away back to the spiritual realm. And one day, when our biological unit no longer ceases or no longer works, our spiritual self is released and we're back to the spiritual realm. We no longer have the capabilities of making emotion. Okay, because emotion, remember, is based on this chemistry. So when we surrender our physical form, go back into the spiritual realm, we no longer have the physical means at which to make the chemistry that then alters the way we feel or the way we think we feel, if that makes sense. We take then with us, when we depart our physical form, we take with us this idea of what it felt like, of our emotional memories, what this and that felt like. Now, this is the wisdom that Othin thought, that he saw it in the Well of Kvasir, and certainly as he learned the magic of the runes, because of course the runes being fairly central to the Norse understanding of our spiritual journey. Each letter within the Germanic alphabet of the Elder Futhark or the Younger Futhark, or even the Saxon one, which came much later. All of those, each letter had its own meaning. So as we took each letter and we then added them together to make a word, we took all of their meanings together. So it just simply added. So if we say had fehu, fehu, of course, being the letter F in English or most languages, fehu meant cattle. So if we took fehu and we added something else, whatever, okay, we add the idea of this new beginnings, which is another part of fehu, and cattle, to that meaning, and so on and so forth until we got all the letters. So this is the wisdom that Odin thought, that he wanted to embrace for himself, and certainly would then teach others. But nonetheless, this is the wisdom that Othin thought. Now, what I ask is that as we look at our wisdom and our gathering of wisdom, that we consider wisdom is this relational matrix that we've spoken of many times, which is kind of a field between the physical mind and the spiritual mind. Okay, so there's this space between those two minds, and that's called our experiences or our memories or our past. And it's this part of our brain where we store all the memories and all the events and the experiences that we've had in this physical lifetime. And then our consciousness now, as you know, here we have the physical brain, the memory brain, and then the spiritual brain. Floating over the top of that is what we refer to as our consciousness. And that's what we're focused on. That's where our brain is. So most of the time when we're awake and we're alert and we're moving around and we're doing our daily life, our consciousness is forward and it's sitting over our physical brain with a potential fair amount covering our memories, right? So our physical mind is kind of interpreting our physical sensory input and it's processing it through our memories to then create emotion. Then when we sleep, our brain or our consciousness slips back over, now covering our event experience memories and our spiritual brain. And so now we're beginning to connect what does that event experience, how does that affect our eternity, right? Our spirituality. So all of these things all come together to make you incredibly unique, incredibly one of a kind, never going to be done again. Okay, so you are that unique in all of life throughout, since the creation of this physical plane. You are unique. Your processing of sensory input to alter your emotional filters that then processes the data being received via all these sensory inputs through an emotional filter, storing that event in its now altered state, creates a different perspective than anyone else who is even in similar situations. Because of your DNA, the foundation at which you're built, your alteration of these experiences is going to be very unique. And so that's what makes you so exciting, so exciting. And so I hope you embrace that excitement about yourself, because you truly are a gift from the gods. You really are. But as we celebrate Woden's Day today, I hope that you will embrace the wisdom that you've gained throughout your life, looking back through those experiences to gain that relational table and grow, because that's the evolution that humans are destined for, is to make that combination where we can grow. We're learning from those experiences. We're growing our consciousness. Remember, enlightenment is simply the expansion of our consciousness. So we're able to cover both, or all, including the physical brain, the memories, and the spiritual brain. That's the expansion of our consciousness that we look for, right? So that's really the process of growing that consciousness, is really what enlightenment is all about. Okay. So I hope you will embrace your journey towards understanding your emotional filters that alter the way you see the world, and see it for what it really is: a lesson, an education in emotion. Okay. So I know that you have it in you. My friends, I hope that you will continue to join us. I am so thrilled that many of you are joining us each morning as we offer our 10 minutes of getting that motor running for today, based on the themes that the Norse gods that I certainly see and recognize and appreciate and love. I hope that you can embrace your day based on what those days are named after. Okay, so each day we have a different challenge. We have a different part of our physical existence that we have to tackle, and we have to kind of get going in the right direction. In the meantime, for those of you who don't know, you're more than, let me educate and say that you can join us on the Ethereal TV streaming network, where Whispers of the Norse is available for streaming and download. You can check out the show each week, 30 minutes, that teaches us something about something about our spiritual path, some little nugget that hopefully you can take away and that can help you either obtain or maintain your own mental health, because mental health is so important, as it provides the balance for our whole existence. So I hope you will join us on etherealtv.net, where, again, you can find Whispers of the Norse. For a small subscription cost, you can subscribe to the streaming channel, and you can download the show and have it for your own. In the meantime, join us each morning about 6:55 a.m. Alaska time, give or take, and we'll discuss something based on that theme. I hope you will join us for that. And remember, always, if you do have something that's just really got you and you can't find a solution, you can't find an answer, by all means, reach out to me. You can find me on my webpage, NorseWhispers.com, where you can ask a question and we can research it and pray together and get you an answer that works. Okay. So I hope that you will use that opportunity. Reach out to me. Let me know what's on your mind and what's on your in your thoughts, because each person's journey is unique and different, but there are some general universal truths that we can all embrace. And so I hope you will join me. My friends, today, Woden's Day, I celebrate the wisdom of Woden and certainly the wisdom of my chief god, Othin. And I hope that you too will embrace whatever gods, whatever labels that you have applied through your cultural association to your deities, and embrace them with all your heart so that they may teach us the path forward from here. All right? I wish you the very best Woden's Day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow where we celebrate the strength of Thor. Love and light, my friends.